presents Club Poker Radio. Une émission tout public, même pour les noobs, les nits et les sharks. Winamax présente Club Poker Radio.
Eh bien salut à toutes et à tous, c'est Comanche sur Club Poker Radio en direct de Marrakech. Toujours à Marrakech et toujours avec mon ShiShi. Coucou mon ShiShi, comment ça va?
Coucou mon Comanche, écoute ça va bien.
Aujourd'hui on perd pas de temps en petite présentation, en petite blagounette parce qu'on va passer aux choses sérieuses. Et on va même, pour le plaisir de nos auditeurs, passer en anglais. Ça va être un exercice de style pour nous. Today we have the privilege of sitting down with one of the greatest prodigy of poker, Fedor Holz. Thanks, Fedor.
I'm looking forward to the serious conversation.
No.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be okay.
So, Fedor, we have 1,000 questions for you, but we have to be okay. We know your time is precious, so we have to start from the beginning. We want to know who was Fedor before cards. Before cards. How did you grow up? Where did you grow up? And what kind of kid were you? Tough question, no?
I mean, it's just where to start, right? I was a pretty curious child. You know, I grew up, my mother got me with 17, so very young. And so basically in the beginning it was her and me, and just I had a really good time and was very curious. We traveled a lot, and for me as a kid it just felt like there's nothing missing, you know. So I would say the first 10 years of my life were very nice, and then it got a bit more difficult.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You grew up in where was it?
In Saarbrück.
Saarbrück, ouais.
Saarbrück.
I know Saarbrück because there are a casino in Saarbrück.
Oui.
You speak French? You speak French?
I mean, I understand you. I don't want to speak French, and it would be a more difficult challenge for me to speak French than for you to speak English.
Okay.
But I spoke French fluent at some point. I lived in Montreal at some point when I was, I think, 5. So I went to kindergarten there, and I spoke French. So I think I have a French pronunciation if I speak French, but I don't have the words anymore. So
you understand French, but you can't speak.
If I speak for a week, I think I get back to.
Man, you have to practice before this show.
Everyone speaks English, yeah.
Yeah, we know. And so, when was your first encounter with poker?
I think maybe 15. So for us, in Germany, it was, there was the poker boom, and then everyone got a poker set.
It was the same in France.
Yeah, I can imagine. So for us, it was my group of friends, we were like 8 guys, 10 guys, and just once every 2 weeks, we got the set, we sat together, had, a drink, and just played some poker.
Played Sint and Goes and...
cash, like 1-2 cents. And one of my friends, he made a website actually where you could track the results of each session. So my graph was like
it becomes poker news,
Exactly. Yeah, not quite.
It was the fun time. It was like
poker
was only for
social.
Fun and
it was a social competitive game. Not like. There was no idea for me to make money with it, but it was my friends. 2 of them were already, studying some strategy and playing online, and I just, showed up and played a bit, and I wasn't very good. So I think at that point I was like, they beat us all the time. Like I want to get a bit better.
It's not the passion of the game; it's we want to beat your friend.
Exactly.
And so at this time, is there some other pros in your some friends that become pros and
I mean pros. I wouldn't say pros at this time. I would say I had basically my best friend. He was making money with poker, not as a pro because we were in school. He was 18. I was I think 17 or something like this, and he started playing online and he played 50 cents $1. And he made money there, so 1,000 every month or something like this. So he took it serious, and it's
serious money at this age.
At 18,
exactly.
Yes.
When you go to school, it's like you don't even know how to spend it. You can buy anything you want. So that's I think when it started. Like, oh wait a second, this is very interesting.
And
so
what year was it?
I mean, I'm 30 now, so it must be 2010.
Yeah, so it's in France like a regulation. I know at this time you can play worldwide. Or
Yes. So
yeah,
games
when
were
we saw
juicy.
the German flag, it was it's not good. The French flag was good.
Oh yes,
it was
the American flag was the best.
Italian, French. It was good, but now things have changed.
Now
German
things
is
have changed,
still not good.
I mean, it depends, right? In the high stakes, yes, but still Germany, I think, is still a really big market, but somehow not. People are less gambly, I would say.
Yes.
So rich people, they don't just open an account and
it's not good for the game.
Yeah. When did you have the déclic to stop playing just for fun and to make some serious money? Not to play in high stakes, but when you...
Yeah. I would say I had one time when I thought and it wasn't. So I think I remember there was a Sunday Million anniversary, which had, I don't know how many, like it was massive, like had maybe 500k or a million for first as well. It was like, I think it was like 5 million prize pool or 10 million prize, like huge Sunday Million. And I came like, I don't know, 150th or something. And I cashed 5k, I think.
Wow.
Or 60th or something like this. And then I thought, okay, now I'm a pro. And then I lost it all in the next 2 months. And then I was like, maybe I'm not a pro. So
you were playing a lot online already at this time?
Yeah. So when I turned 18, I started going to Casino de Sarrebruck and played online poker. Yeah.
So we often hear the famous haha moment. It was like this moment when your career is like, okay, I understand something and it's skyrocketing. What was this moment for you?
It's very weird. It really actually makes no sense, because for me, I started taking poker serious in 2012, like very serious. 2011 I played a lot. 2012 I take it very serious. So let's say 2 years. And I start posting a lot in online forums and start make poker friends online and start to go into the community of people like Germans mostly. And then I get staked for maybe a year. I play 180 mans and then I start playing tournaments. So maybe $50 average buy-in, something like this. Sometimes a 200, but that was the biggest I played. And I think it was just a straight line down. Like I didn't...
Really?
Yeah. I was like... I remember one Sunday, this is probably my biggest tilt moment back then, is I had really like even probably in my whole career, the biggest amount of deep runs ever. I had like, at 3 a.m. I had like 7 tournaments open, like 18 left, 16 left, 12 left. And I busted all of them in like 15 minutes.
Wow.
And I had a glass of marmalade on my table and I just threw it against the wall and like the whole thing exploded. So I think I cashed like 3k and could have cashed for like 200k or something. And so at that point in time I had like maybe a 5k bankroll, like 10k was my maximum, something like this. I built a little bit but never significant, and then I was down in my staking, so I didn't feel like I'm in a good position to pursue this. And then I decided I need a break, because mentally, after 12 months of like playing a lot of poker and like not making money, and I mean, my life was very simple, like every day the same food, like I didn't really travel. I was just like waking up, playing poker, and like
repeat
and no success. So I thought, okay, I need a change.
A break to restart.
So yeah.
So
And so what did you do after that?
Yeah, I did a world trip. I went to South Africa, and I think something just there, it kind of just clicked. I couldn't say what, but it wasn't about poker, but it was just like, wait a second, life can be fun. I shouldn't take it too serious. Just, take it easy. Because in South Africa, I booked a flight and then I spent like $20 a day, $10 a hostel, some nice food, and like just had fun all the time. And I was like, oh, wait a second, like it's actually pretty easy. I can just have a good life and don't need to worry too much about stuff, and then I came back and I moved to Vienna in April, and then from then on I just won every tournament I played. Like, it was really, May the biggest score like for 20 or 25k. Then I quit my staking. Then in summer I cashed like for 100k, then 80k, 50k, like, and I just started winning every tournament. And suddenly, like 5 months later, I had a 400k bankroll or something.
Wow.
So
at this time, did you have some mentor or some coach who left their mark on your game?
No, I had good friends. I would say I was always kind of the guy to build friends groups. So I started reaching out to people and was like kind of
only German people, German school, or
yeah, I would say at that time it was much more regional, So the forum I was in, it was all German, and only later I switched to an international.
2+2.
I never really. I did post some on 2+2, but not a lot. The first one was in Telepoker. It was like a German forum, and then the second one was Poker Strategy.
Oh yes, okay. So we understand we have to book a flight to South Africa, and after that we can play Super High Rollerball.
That's it.
Easy. Yeah. I told you it's easy.
I'm already on booking to book.
He's on his phone. I can confirm.
Talk to us about the German school, because there's a lot of when we think about the German school, it's like something like the very straightforward, and you all work together and you are just all geniuses. If you have to describe it in few words, what would it be?
I mean, it's not really like that. It's not that we all work together. It's just, I think some people have figured out that it's just better together than alone. And, when you see other people doing it, I think the moment you experience it, you realize pretty quickly it's just poker is just not very nice alone. If you have a downswing, like, it's just not a very nice experience. So spending it with other people, I think, has benefits in basically all areas. You emotionally, socially, you learn more. You can spend your time with people. So I think it's a very natural thing to spend. And I think every community does it, to be honest. The French do it, the Spanish do it, the Italians do it. Everyone does it. I think.
But German school were the first to do that.
Yeah,
no?
I mean, on the top level, I would say. I think what's different, if I compare, it's just a little more orientation towards, goals or certain drive, where, it has some downsides too, but if I look at our culture, there's just, there's less laissez-faire, there's less convenience. It's less like, you've reached there's just certain personalities I feel a bit more where it's just like, okay, you gotta go further and further and further and further and further. I see that a bit less in Mediterranean cultures. It's just like, you've reached something, you're like, enjoy your life, and like, that's just not really the German culture. It's just like, when you were good, you have to be very good. When you're very good, you have to become, exceptional. So I think that just breeds more exceptional players. But it's not the better way. It's just you just have more exceptional players.
Okay, so you have to book South Africa and be German. Okay.
Yes.
So
it's going to be complicated now.
I'm learning. You had a quite rapid ascent. At what point did you decide to start playing high stakes?
I mean, online high stakes was very quick because there was no jump. I mean, the Super Tuesday was, I think, the biggest tournament, which was $1,000. So from like 200 to 1,000 wasn't like a massive increase. And then there was only like a few events back then a year, like W Cup main, Scoop main event. Like there was not so much high stakes.
W Cup, like it was 10k, no? Already?
W Cup was 5k.
5k, okay.
And Scoop was 10k.
Okay.
So this was like the main stuff to play on high stakes. And live was a very specific decision because there the jump was really big from 1k online to 25k, 50k, 100k. And the normal live stuff up to 10k I played basically from the beginning too. So like 2013 when I had success online, that's kind of the transition to do.
And it was really fast.
Yeah, I mean, when you have the bankroll and the skill level is lower. So it's if you feel comfortable, it's easier to play a 10k high roller than to play the Super Tuesday. I think so.
Yeah.
So back then I felt comfortable because I played a lot of live poker. So like my whole career, I always played like 30, 40, 50% of my time I played live. So for me, it was kind of, I played live poker for, I'm 21, but I played live poker for 4 years, you know, so it didn't feel like too new. But the big step was to high rollers. This was the big step. And it was one guy. Like I talked to one German guy who was one of the best heads-up players at the time, and they were staking, like they were very rich, and they were staking like all the good tournament players for the high stakes. And he asked me like, "Hey, do you wanna play those tournaments?" I was like, "Of course."
Hey, do you want to play 100? Oh, yes.
Yeah, I started with 25Ks, and the beginning wasn't good, so I busted like 15 tournaments or so, didn't cash. And I was really like, wow, these guys, is this a different level, these guys. And then I studied very, very hard. Mostly the players, because I was like, I don't play against these guys online. There's like these live guys.
So how did you study the live game? You watch videos?
Yeah.
You take some notes?
Yeah. It was mainly, the first thing I tried is everyone who had online hands, I tried to look at their profiles online and see what they do well. And then the second was, there was a lot of footage, there was a lot of footage to watch. And then just playing against them, I tried to take a lot of notes. And back then, poker was very different. People were much more, it was much more a bit like cat and mouse, like someone does a few things well, but adaptation wasn't so quick. If you, like people kind of play their style, and then once you figured it out, like they don't change. Like 80% of them, they didn't change. So.
Less mathematics, more instinct game.
Yeah, but also much less progress. So let's say you take some like the Germans back then. I remember, I take like Igor Kurganov for example. He was a very good player, but he played. But like there wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna, I'm playing like I'm. They do their thing. They're good. They make money. They do their thing, but they're not studying hard to like, stay on top. Yeah. So for me, it was like, okay, once I figured out where his weaknesses are and where his strengths are,
it opens the door to.
I just exploit him all the time, and he's not, So nowadays it's much more like people get better, people exploit each other. Like there's this meta game, like this guy does this guy, and like next session. So it's like very, very, organic. Like it's changing all the time. So
like a solver. Adaptation.
Kind of, but it's also more, kind of everyone is aware, everyone's making mistakes, but, everyone's kind of exploiting certain things, and then you exploit the population tendencies, so where people generally have like weaknesses, and then, there's guys who squeezing, for example, people fall too much to squeezing, and then everyone's doing like everyone's squeezing, and then suddenly it's like, okay, you can 4-bet. So now people squeeze too much, and now people 4-bet too much, and it's just like, who's, and then when people 4-bet too much, you start squeezing less, and it's this weird.
Yeah, I remember back time, like in 2010, there was already 4-bet, 5-bet, 6-bet, and the guy showed deuce.
Exactly.
But after it was like very less 5-bet, and
exactly like that. This just way more advanced.
Yeah. So poker is some tendencies. Every like 2 or 3 years there's some change. We had the GTO era. I think I don't know if you're okay, but I think now the exploitative thing is coming back. We say, okay, take GTO, you have to take a step back from GTO. There is room for exploitative play. I don't know if you
because the data takes a big place now.
Maybe not in the very high stakes.
I mean, it's like it's always been there, but it depends also who you talk to, right? Like I personally, if you talk to the best, they do both, because you want to get better technically, because it's kind of, I always explain it like this: the theory is kind of your starting point, and if you, let's say you're good at exploiting, let's say you have a good tendency for, is your opponent too passive, is he too aggressive? And, let's say, if he's too passive, you do, okay, +3, you start to be more aggressive. If he's too aggressive, you start, you do -3, you start to become a bit more passive and call him down. And now it's like, but it depends where you do +3 or -3 from, where your starting point is. If you have a really bad starting point, then even if you exploit, you don't know if it's which
good
direction to go to.
Yeah.
So that's why I think very good players today they understand theory is your starting point. You need to have very good pre-flop ranges. You need to understand flop strategies, and then your exploits become increasingly better when you understand the theory better. Because if you know, you know exactly the range. You know exactly, this is a spot where you're supposed to have this range, and let's say he doesn't open this hand, you know already, he's a little bit too tight, so I adjust this way. So the better you know, the better your exploits get. And I think every top reg does that. This mixture of like just being very strong theoretically and then mixing in when you have good information, you just do that automatically.
Before I talk about the data, it changed the game like 2 years ago, maybe. Everybody do some data sciences now.
Data analysis, right? Yeah.
There's some point, or you can use that in live game, or it's never possible.
Oh, of course. I mean, the big shift in live games, though, is, like I would say the difference between live and online is that online, generally, people are more passive. So it's just shifting now too, but live, just people love playing hands, right? They love opening more, they love calling. I think in basically all scenarios, probably, even the good players tend to be more loose in live games compared to online. Just because it's easier when you play 12 tables, you just, I just fold. But if you play live and you're in the small blind, you maybe want to limp this hand instead. Online, you're just like, I fold. So I generally think that's the main starting point, and it's hard to be very disciplined if you play lots of live poker. So that's the first point. And then the second point is, I think you play generally, I would say, a tougher environment online as well. So you have to look for more nuanced advantages, because you can't just say because in a live poker tournament you could just say like, I sit here, I play tight, it's enough. So I think when you play online you have to challenge yourself a bit more.
Similar to Magnus Carlsen, you had a step back from poker, so you retired. First, why did you wanted to
be retired?
I mean, I did not know at the time how people would interpret what I said. But even today, for me, it's the correct word, because how it felt for me is, like, I think what people don't understand is, let's say you have, let's say 3,000, 4,000 like active hours a year, where you spend on something. In 2015 and 16, I probably spent, 3,500 hours on poker, like just study, social, playing, and I went to maybe spending 80 hours on poker.
Wow.
So,
okay.
I get it that like people, I play an EPT, or like I played, I think in 17, I played like 5 series or something. But for me, it was like I didn't study, I didn't talk poker, I didn't spend time with my poker friends. I just traveled to 5 stops and played high rollers. That's it. I played no online poker. So for me, yes, I get it. I had good results this year, so it looked even more. I was like, he's cashing 10 times or whatever. But I played like 20 events. This was it. So, in my mind, it was like I spent 95% of my time on other things. And so, it felt like I took a very big step back from poker.
Yeah, so you're semi-pro now.
Kind of. I mean, I have to say, and I think this goes back to the German part. I'm not sure if it's the German culture. It's probably more my personality. But I definitely struggle with the idea to be, like the 20th best. It's not because of the idea itself, but how it feels in playing. Because back then, a lot of my sharpness came from spending lots of time on the game. And just when there's something where I'm not sharp, then I spend more time. I feel like, okay, this guy's better than me. Okay, let me find out why. So I just spent as much time as I then thought, okay, now I'm better. So now today, I don't have the same ambition and the same goals. I don't play a 50K and then I see a guy who's spending 70 hours a week and play poker, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna outwork this guy. Like I don't think this today. So it's definitely a struggle now to go into a tournament and like know that there's certain technical things where I've spent less time on, and also know I'm not gonna spend the time on it. So. It can be challenging. I have different strengths, and I think I have a lot of experience now. But technicality, as I said before, the starting point is extremely important.
Okay. Following your retirement, can you share your goals and plans? Did you have specific aspirations, or either in real poker or other fields?
I mean, I ventured into entrepreneurship. I started one company, Prime Mind. We built that, let's say, medium successful. Then a few different ventures. And I would describe it now more as two describing factors. First, it was way too much. I had no idea what I'm getting myself into. Never built a business, never had employees, never worked like that. And the second, I also had no experience. So that mixture, just not very good.
Did you take some advice from some friends who make some businesses? Or?
Not enough. I wouldn't say. I would say I didn't have very experienced friends at that time in business. It's more with time now that some of my friends have more experience. But back then, I was more like, I'm gonna try this out.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's see them. And I could have learned things much cheaper, but I think it's just my personality. I just like high intensity, fast paced, and now I learned the last 8 years. I think I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about how I want to work, how I need to work to be efficient, and in a different setting than just poker, where in poker it's easy, it's day by day kind of. Even if you work 12 hours a day, the next day you can say, oh, okay, today I take a break. In business, very difficult. So I think that's just something in poker I never realized how different poker is compared to a lot of other environments. Because there it's just like, if I feel like I want to take a break for 5 weeks, I went to South America and just like traveled for 5 weeks. In business, if I feel burned out, like sometimes it's very difficult to take a step back for 5 weeks. So I think that there definitely I put myself in some tricky situations. But now I would say the last 4 years I spent a lot of time on let's say cleaning it up, and now I'm in a pretty good position in this regard.
Talking about Prime Mind, it was a meditation application.
Correct.
Do you do daily meditation, or is it a way of living for you?
I mean, the background is more from mindset coaching rather than meditation. So I worked with Elliot.
Rowe?
Elliot Rowe.
Yeah.
It's crazy now if I think about it. It's our 9th year, so a long time, and he has helped me, especially in my poker career, significantly. But now also the last years more in my private life. And basically for poker competitions, what I've done with him is he developed these 10-15 minutes primers where I sit down before I put the earplugs in and I just listen. And it was designed for deep runs, basically. So when I have a deep run final table or second day, it's just for this, And I always said, it was like 10, 20, 30% more performance, which in poker is a pretty big deal.
Yes.
For comparably little money, because if I think about how much money I was playing for in the high rollers, it was a big advantage. So that was the app, basically what it was based on. It was just this idea, okay, if it works for poker, it probably can work for any other area in life, and yeah, that's the basis.
The name Elliot Rowe, it's always come back for every big winner. Say Elliot Rowe changed my game. I think it's number one mental coach in poker. I think.
Yeah, I think you could say so. Yeah, in terms of results, for sure. I mean, he basically worked with everyone everyone who had success.
Okay, so number 3, you work with Elliot Rowe.
Yeah, now it's more difficult.
Oh man!
Yeah.
No, don't kill our dream.
Yeah.
At that time, did you start the poker code? What?
No, that was afterwards. So I would say, if you want to distinguish a bit, then Prime Mind kind of was the first project with like no idea what's going on, and for that actually it worked kind of well. Obviously a lot of rookie mistakes, but we made it into had decent revenues, and the company worked fine, and just we had no idea how to scale a company. I think that's also something. So many parts of it where in the beginning you have an idea, but you have no idea.
How many of you were in the project?
I think at peak maybe 8 or 9, and
all poker players?
No. Actually,
okay.
No poker players.
Oh, okay.
It was like a general, like a normal business.
Okay.
So it had also almost nothing to do with poker. It was just for sleep, for flying, for any kind of sport. For poker was a part of it. We obviously utilized that part, but it was for any kind of.
And it's still around.
It's still active.
It's
still it's growing every month. It's still around. I'm just not running it.
Okay, Prime Mind.
Yeah, and Poker Code I think I launched in 2019. So this was kind of the second business. But I also got back into poker. So 2019, 2020, I got back into like time-wise much more into poker. Corona, so COVID. I was at home. Everyone was playing online poker. I started playing online poker again. So. I would say the last 3-4 years, my partnership with GG Poker as well. So the last 3-4 years, poker took a bigger place.
So at this time you make your comeback online. So how did you manage to play with the new generation of online players?
I thought my beginning coming in was really, I was very careful. Who are all the good new guys? After 2 weeks, I was like, "What's going on here? Nobody's better." Yeah, really. I also think something is quite like weird if I think back about it now. The jump between, let's say, 2016, 17, and 2020 didn't feel so big. If I think of the skill level, the jump from 20 to 23 feels pretty big. Like I feel that there's a lot of players that were like okay or decent, 3-4 years ago that now became very good the last 2-3 years. So I think there's this new generation.
You think it's because of the new tools like GTO Wizards of the it's not only pure solver now, and there is a lot of tools that that can bring to a next level.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of tools, but I also think that COVID brought a lot of liquidity back to the market, which, if you have more reasons to play, then people just study much harder, right? If there's lots of stuff going on all the time, you play. Like back then, you could play every day, basically. I could have played 5-6 good sessions a week. And 2019, poker felt like dead, there was nothing. Or 18. So, especially online poker, it was like very hard to play besides Sunday. So, I think that brings a lot of ambition to a lot of players. It's like, hey, there's money to be made, so let's get good.
What were your dreams when you started in poker, and do you still have dreams regarding poker or in life? What is what?
No dreams.
No dreams. I do everything. I did everything.
No, I don't feel that way. I mean, dreams is a good word. Aspirations, maybe intentions. There's definitely a few things I'm interested in. In poker, I really feel like a bit of a grandfather now. No, really.
You're the mentor.
It's really, playing myself. There's certain things that still excite me, but not remotely close to what it used to. I really used to be an excited kid. It was like the next tournament. I was like, wow, let me... And I really believe in life. My biggest driver has always been the challenge creates curiosity, and that curiosity makes me want to improve. And I... Basically, a lot of people around me, have this slightly different approach of you have to force yourself to learn. you can call it discipline, or like you just have to say you want something and then but it doesn't really work for me that way. So if I don't value the challenge enough, I will not put in the time. And I think that's where I am in my career right now, is there's certain things that really excite me. There's certain Triton events, certain high rollers that really excite me, but it's not 200 times a year. It's like, 10 times a year. So I will prepare, I will do some work, but it's not close to full time. And so my role now, what I'm really excited about is really more helping other people reach that. So I have a group of players. I built it 1.5 years ago after I started getting more back into the game, and it's going extremely well. And that's more exciting for me than winning myself. Like, it's seeing them, move from mid stakes to high stakes to playing their first events. It feels like me reliving these memories.
I know what you live. Yeah.
Also, when they start to get better, when they're the first moments when I feel like, oh, they're better than me, that's a sick feeling. And that's really, in the beginning, it was like, okay, there's almost no areas where they're better than me, and now I feel like, oh, there's actually quite some areas where they're better than me. Just because if you put in the time, if you work every day, you make a lot of progress.
No, you ask for the handy stories. You say, what did you do? How did you play this hand? No?
Yeah, it's really exciting. Because in the beginning, you give a lot, you give. And then at some point, you're like, whoa, wait a second, you start to like, and it's not from their eyes. From their eyes, they still think, they're like, they look up to you. They still think, oh, like Fedor is much better. But like I have the reflection from a different perspective, so I know like the difference is not so big anymore.
And so, sometimes you learn from
of course
from a player.
Yeah.
C'est une question. Ouais. Vas-y. You said at some point you wanted new challenge. There was a time in your career you played cash game.
Yeah,
I remember.
Yes.
And why did you and you start directly to high stakes and
sure.
And you play during guys.
No, it's after that. But I remember on 2+2 this high stakes and we see a grown up guy with playing like it was like 50-100 I think
50-100,
with Linus with every guys. Why did you wanted to play cash game at this time? I
mean, there were, I would say, 2 occasions, but I played high stakes in basically every format. I played hyper sit and goes 1Ks, I played 5K turbo 6 max, I played some turbo heads up and hyper heads ups, I played cash game. The main reason was just I wanted to broaden my horizon. I felt in every game I learned like sit and go is extremely good for tournaments. I think a lot of the best tournament players actually have a sit and go background, because when you look at tournament players today, for example, a lot of them miss fundamentals. And in sit and goes, you learn the fundamentals, like especially shoving and calling. You just need to be very sharp at. It's very simple too. And a lot of people just haven't put in the repetitions. So if you play 2,000-3,000 sit and goes, you study at the same time and you look up your mistakes, at some point you're just going to be pretty sharp pre-flop. And cash game for me was the same thing. Like, a lot of tournament players are terrible at deep stack poker. A lot of the high rollers start out pretty deep, so I wanted to play against the best deep stack, and they don't play on 5-10, so I needed to play 25-50 and 50-100. And it was very nice to see as well that the skill gap is always massive. I played against, let's say maybe one semi-recreational and then like 2 okay regs and then 4 of the best regs in the world. And you could see the difference between the okay regs and the best in the world. It's
huge.
It's really crazy. Back then, it wasn't Linus. Linus wasn't really playing the games. It was OTB. Red Ben, Educa Poker, Kanu 7, like the old school.
Yeah, the old school guys.
Bajakowski was a
Fish 20
and
2013.
Doug.
For Haley.
No, maybe Doug was already retired.
No, Doug wasn't really playing these games. I don't think I really played against Doug. Maybe rarely.
He played a lot of heads up. Doug was heads up player.
Yeah, he was mostly focusing. But he because he didn't get action, he started then playing 6-max, and then he started playing PLO sometimes as well. But yeah, for Haley was also a very tough opponent. So sometimes Timofey, True Teller, also played these games sometimes.
He was already playing higher stakes now, or
Yeah. He's probably.
He was number one. I remember this time it was Educa Poker made the list, of the best cash game players, and Truteler was number one.
I mean, he's probably not the technically best in this particular format. At that point in time, I thought OTB was the best player, but he was just so all around. That was the impressive thing. It just felt like he just showed up and he just played good poker. Basically all the time, never felt like the guy was tilting. It never felt like he just, made good decisions all around, and then thinking that he then goes on to playing 2K, 4K, 8 game, next day, and then crushes this as well, and then plays PLO, and then the guy could just play any game.
So annoying.
It's that is for me the more impressive thing, how he just kept, because I think it's much more impressive to be like, the fourth best player and like, in like 4 different variants than to be like the best in one.
Yeah. And so Truteler was the guy that really impressed you, and I don't know where the heads up challenge with Victor came from.
Limitless.
Yeah. Limitless. So if I recall correctly, he was challenged you to play. He was playing drunk, no? It was something like that, no?
It was.
It's such a
big spew.
It's a trash talking. Yeah, I can play you drunk. Yeah, I think he can regret now, but.
I mean, to be fair, I have a good relationship with Victor. It wasn't good spirits, It wasn't this bad mouth challenge. It was more like, hey, I could take you with a bottle of wine. So I think this type of stuff, I personally think it's more fun because, obviously he's the more experienced heads-up player. But then you just try to find like some handicap that makes it, either fun or fair for both. And I think a bottle of wine,
it's very fun.
That's a lot.
It's very fun.
And we played, I think, 3 sessions of like 1,000 hands each or something, of 2 tables. And I think we played the first session where he drank a bottle of wine. And, yeah, he had no chance.
Yeah.
And I think, it was also, I think he maybe drank a little bit more, or he drank before or something. So like he also asked me afterwards, like, okay. I think he said because he had a big match, like a much bigger stakes match at the same time. I think we played 50-100 or something.
It was not versus Stefan, it was
against Stefan. Yeah,
okay.
And he asked me like, hey man, is it fine if we just play and I don't drink? And I said sure, no problem. So we just finished it without him drinking. And yeah, I think I won a decent amount.
Do you play against Stefan? We love Stefan in the game because
it's always fun to watch hand stories from Stefan.
Like, I've played a very small amount against him. He's also, against someone like Victor, I feel much better playing than against someone like Stefan. I generally have much more problems against those players who play these
crazy game,
crazy line.
Yeah, but these like, very aggressive lines, but very sharp. That I think is really difficult to play against.
But we were talking about theory. He does something that's not very correct, but he know what he's doing. If he were playing like a super high roller ball or something like that, do you think he have a chance with this kind of line?
Listen, in tournament poker, I think what a lot of people looking from the outside don't understand is the depth of the game. Even some good poker players, even good tournament players, don't understand the depth of the game. Because nowadays, what happens quickly is you look at some sims and you think that's the depth of the game. But that's just the depth of the sim, not the depth of the game. Because if you look at tournament poker, the correct simulation would basically be you cannot just simulate one hand. You would have to simulate all hands till the end of the tournament. And that would give you the dollar value of the decision, basically, because ICM is just a simplification model So it just approximates some things and then makes the calculation easier so you can use it for one hand. But if you do it like the correct, sometime, when tournament poker will be solved, it will most likely happen with AI, and then it will be simulating poker hands till the end. So if you're six-handed, for example, and you want to simulate the value of a decision, you have to simulate till the end, till all the different outcomes that can happen.
Wow.
And that's, you can imagine, it's not just solving one hand, it's solving like 40 hand, and all the different outcomes of all the different hand.
We need the quantic computer.
Yeah, I mean, it's billions and billions and billions of data points. So I think people are not aware how much tournament poker will evolve still. It's like cash game in this regard, I think, is because it's one hand. You can increase the depth of choices in that hand with bet sizes and options, but there the depth is not so much deeper. There's some depth, but not a crazy amount. But in tournament poker, it's like a whole different universe.
I changed the subject regarding routines.
Yeah.
In your life, is it something very important for you, routines? And can you share your daily habits?
Yeah, I feel like the expectation would be to just list up these 11 things I do. I wake up at like 6:30, then I do a meditation, then I take a cold shower.
4 a.m. cold shower, cold bath, and
5 a.m. club, or how it's called, right? Or 4 a.m. I don't know. No, actually, very simple. I just try to live a good life nowadays, and it's working very well. I think the pressure that comes with thinking in this way, where you have to create a rigid schedule that makes your life great, rather than just
enjoy the moment.
It's not so. This feels a bit too, spiritual. Like be in the moment, enjoy the moment. But it's more like, let's say, if I look at a day, I can think of 100 times where I'm sabotaging myself. Like, let's say, let's be honest. Let's say going to sleep. I always am on my phone before I go to sleep, and like I can feel I'm tired already, but I still check a message or whatever. And there's something in me like I know it's not
bad.
right. So but it's also okay that it's this way. But I don't need to set like these rules, because like internally I kind of know what
you're like
what feels good.
Accepting that you are doing something not very good, but as long as you're accepting, you're okay with yourself.
I think that's kind of the first step that helped me a lot more to just not try to make these grandiose plans, where like I do these because I didn't manage historically to execute it well. So I realized, okay, wait a second, like somehow, these like 10 things that I check, and then 50 minutes this and 5 minutes this and then this. I did this for a few years, and then I realized, wait a second, it's not really working. It's more stressing than it's helping. So I try to just focus a bit more on the things maybe nobody wants to talk about, like just let's do very simple, I had to take 5 steps back and be like, okay, wait a second, I need to start to just do with the very basics, just go outside for 30 minutes, just, spend some time outside. My girlfriend is helping me a lot in this regard, because she lives I would say, pretty healthy life, just naturally. It's how she grew up. And when I'm with her, I get out of bed, at maybe 8:39, and then I start doing more things that are good for me. I go to bed when I'm tired. I spend less time on computer or phone. I eat very healthy when I'm with her. And then it's more like, very small steps actually. Like I drink less alcohol. I eat cleaner, I move more, I try to go outside more. And when I do that, I feel like that I don't really need
naturally
to do...
you are happier.
Yeah, so and I feel it's still these very basic things. There's still just more of these basic things rather than like these very advanced things, if that makes sense.
Every time girls are the thing that go to bed. That's why you go to bed. Be honest. You want to be on your computer, but you're going to say, "You coming?"
Yeah.
Yes, I'm coming.
I mean, I don't blame her. I would say now I'm more sad when she's not there, because then I'm like, wait, I stay up until 2 a.m. and
for nothing. We're like scrolling.
Exactly.
With the friends, it's different. With the friends. when you are in with your friends. So that's the time that you eat junk food. You drink a lot of alcohol. So we don't talk about Marrakesh already. So what did you decide to come with Marrakesh with a lot of German?
we know it's because of this guy. You know, it's this guy, and we have to thank Javier Tsunami because I'm like sending a message every 5 minutes. Is Fedor coming? Please can call Osan and Sen. This guy, and he's always nice. Thank you very much, Javier. You're the man. And
he's the man.
Yeah, he's the man.
He's the reason I'm here. He went to our festival. We had a very nice conversation. He invited me here and asked me if I can bring
40 German.
Exactly. And I was like, no problem. Let me bring my friends. So here we are.
Yeah, Moroccan are very happy to have 40 German. The first event, the guy won, no?
Yeah, but this wasn't my guy. So.
The same thing. He came because of you.
It's your first time in Marrakesh?
I've been here before, but the first time in the casino.
Yes, I did. And what did you go around a little bit? Did you see some things?
The first time I spent 2.5 weeks here, so I've seen quite a lot of the city. I lived in the Medina, so walked around a lot. But to be honest, for this trip, for me, it was just
poker.
Staying here. Not really poker, but just
you're in the palace.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Just spa and work a little bit and play some poker and see some friends. Nothing too
chill time.
Exactly, like nothing too crazy.
Nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
And it's the poker code team here.
Yes. Yeah. So it's I would say 80% of the people are part of our community.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't know if you have more questions.
Just a last question. So I don't understand. I come back to the goal in life, but I don't understand why it's possible to play high stakes tournaments with no goal in poker. So I'm sure you have one goal.
Really? No. I mean, think of it like this. For me, it's probably one of the things I'm best at, and it's very enjoyable for me to play these tournaments. Right? It's very competitive. I'm there with friends. It's the point in time where I'm most tuned in. It's if you like. I really like this mental feeling of just being 100% focused. Not when I play. A $500 side event here, it feels like, I'm on my phone or like I chat with people, it's a different thing. It's more a social thing for me here, but there it's like me against, the rest. And this feeling is just something that's what I love about tournament poker.
It's like a sports feeling when you're on the field.
Exactly. But it's, in business, it's not the same. I never have this feeling in business. I don't have this feeling, now I'm going to lock in and it's me against the others. No, there, it's different. I'm building something, I'm building a product. It's also nice. But that's why I think I'm still in poker, because it just has this competitive sports feeling that I have maybe in soccer and nowhere else, So having this on the highest level for a lot of money, when there's a lot of pressure, it just gives me a really nice kick. And I don't think about, I don't think like, I want to win this or I want to make this much money. It's like I want to show up and I have expectation, like I want to perform well, but that's it for me. Then after that, that's done. And I also don't know what's next. I plan my next trip and that's it. Like I have no plans for the rest of the year. I play the next Triton and then I see where it takes me.
So which team do you support on soccer?
Actually, I don't follow. Like when I started playing poker professionally, I stopped following football at all because it was so much time, watching games and stuff, and I just spent all my time on poker, so I didn't want to watch any more games. But if I would have to pick, Thomas Tuchel is a friend of mine, so I've always been rooting for his teams in some way. Oh. It's more now that I have friends in football, and then I root for their team, like CD Castellón, Haralabob. a poker player or like very successful sports bettor, but also former poker player. He bought it, and so I just like these stories where you have some, you know the person who does it. So I would say Dortmund has probably been my the team I liked for a long time.
I have a last question.
Yes,
I remember. We like to. It's like the. Do you? What's your some books that you? Are you reading books?
Yeah.
Are you a book reader? If you have one book to give.
I would say there's a few classics. I had a time where I read almost only. It's called self-improvement books.
Yeah.
And then I would say the majority of my life I read fantasy. I would say the book I've recommended the most is probably The Art of Learning.
Oh, it's great from the chess player.
Yeah.
It's Steve
Josh Waitzkin.
Yeah, it's great. It's crazy.
So
good.
this would be my recommendation.
Okay, and last question: what are you? If you have a TV show
or a movie,
or this time you're watching?
I just watched it and I really liked it, way more than I thought. It's a bit weird in the beginning, but in the end I was really really into it. It's called The Beef.
The Beef.
Oh, I saw it. It's a really really nice movie. I saw that like 2 weeks ago.
Maybe you because there's another one that sounds similar, but it's a series. It's not a movie. It's like
no, it's in Disney Plus.
No, it's Netflix.
The Beef. Okay.
Because sorry. You mean The Bear?
The Bear, yeah.
The Bear, the cook.
That's the cooking.
Guy,
that's also good.
Guy.
But I mean The Beef.
All right, okay.
So The Beef, it's like this road rage incident between two agents.
Yeah, he won the Grammy Award, I think.
Man, it is crazy.
The guy from The Walking Dead. The guy from The Walking Dead playing the Asian guy.
Yeah. I thought I saw his face before. Yeah. So it's a wild series,
right.
And it's really I liked in the beginning. I was like, this is nice, but then towards the end I was like, I need to watch the rest of it. So it's really crazy.
Yeah.
The Beef on Netflix.
And and for a movie, are you a big movie fan?
Yeah, but I'm I would almost call myself a movie critic. I hate bad movies, so it's really like it's one of the
don't like good bad movies. Like very, very bad movies are delightful.
Oh my God. Like I, for example, I generally think right now there's this weird trend of like social critique, being overused in movies, and it's just about the message and not really about the movie. And I hate it. It's really, it's dread. Oh my God, I don't like it because. Like a Triangle of Sadness. Have you watched it?
I know I don't.
Yeah, it's one of those. For example, a lot of people around me have recommended it to me, and I was really excited. Because they were like, "Wow, this is one of the best movies I've seen in a long time." And I was like, I watched it, and I was like, "What is this?"
You lost your time.
So, let me think. What movie? Really lately, there wasn't really a movie that I watched that I really liked. So. It's probably, if I think of classics, I mean, the one that I always say because it's kind of an easy one is Inception, because I just kind of like it, but like everyone has watched it anyway, so it's not really a good recommendation.
Yeah, but it's a fucking great movie.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of Hollywoody, but I still really like it. No, actually, nothing comes to mind right now. I mean, I have to say probably one of my all-time favorites is The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger. That's probably...
Right. You're a big Christopher Nolan guy.
Yeah, I like Christopher Nolan, and I love Heath Ledger. So the way, I mean, that for me, like the Joker role for me is
the perfect combo.
It's just, for me, one of the craziest roles.
Do you like Tenet?
I like Tenet.
But you don't understood it.
No, I think I like Tenet a lot. Actually, I would say from that's pretty high up in my list too. But I would say generally, I like movies that are a bit like that have a depth where everyone can kind of go where they want to go. You can just watch it as like an action movie, but you also can. But Tenet was at a point where it feels like you have to go back. You have to rewind and watch it again and watch it again, because some things are just like, especially when there's these two rooms and like he walks in and you have to think, okay, like he's seen this already, and like he empties the gun because he knows he's gonna fit. Like it's just, it's like, it's nice. I like the movie. Yeah.
Thank you, Fedor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. It was very
pleasure.
C'était trop cool. C'était trop cool. Merci beaucoup. Et on te souhaite. Maintenant, on parle français. C'est bon, on peut le dire.
C'est la fin, ça passe.
On parle français. Merci beaucoup. On te souhaite
de rien,
de réussir dans tout ce que tu entreprends. Je crois que tu as bien commencé.
C'est pas trop mal.
Et puis nous, on se retrouve très bientôt pour un nouvel épisode de Club Poker Radio. On vous embrasse.
Merci à tous.
Ciao,
tout le monde. Ciao, ciao.
Merci à tous. Au revoir.
Les jeux d'argent et de hasard peuvent être dangereux. Perte d'argent, conflits familiaux, addiction. Jouez pour le plaisir et avec modération. Apprenez à fixer vos limites. Pour rappel, les jeux d'argent sont interdits aux moins de 18 ans. N'initiez pas vos enfants à des jeux réservés aux adultes. Si vous pensez avoir un problème avec le jeu, appelez le 09 74 75 13 13. Appel non surtaxé.